Hello and welcome to the World Today. I'm Joker Rogers. In the next hour, we'll bring you stories from around the world. At least 15 people have been killed in what police officials suspect to be a suicide bombing targeting a political rally in southwestern Pakistan. A senior leader of the Balochistan National Party, Bengal, Sajid Tareen, also confirms that the explosion occurred in the car park after the rally was concluded, claiming several party members were wounded. Reports say the Islamic State militant group has claimed responsibility for the attack. Balochistan, which borders Afghanistan and Iran, is the country's largest and poorest region. Its residents also face regular and often deadly attacks from the Islamic State and separatist groups. And Portugal has declared a day of national mourning after one of Lisbon's iconic electric funiculars derailed in the capital city, leaving 16 people dead and more than 20 injured. Local media reports suggest a cable came loose along the railway, causing it to lose control. Lisbon's mayor, Carlos Modas, describes the accident as one of the biggest tragedies in the city's recent history, calling for answers. Authorities say investigations are underway as police are working with a company that operates the popular Gloria Funicular as a well-known tourist attraction to determine who was on board and what could have caused the crash. And a fast-moving wildfire has burned homes in the historic California town of Chinese Camp, founded in the 1850s by Chinese miners forced out of a nearby settlement. Chinese Camp, about 57 miles east of Stockton and named for the Chinese miners who settled there, is a registered California landmark filled with historic structures and home to roughly 60 residents. Officials have not yet released details on the scale of the damage, but footage from the fire line showed buildings leveled and engulfed in flames as firefighters battled through the night. NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte has warned that the bloc state members of the accelerating cooperation between Russia and China, claiming Beijing's Victory Day parade was an attempt to reshape global order. Beijing hosted a grand Victory Day parade on Wednesday, marking 80 years since Japan's defeat in the Second World War. A total of 26 heads of state joined the celebrations, including Russia's Vladimir Putin and the DPRK leader Kim Jong-un, among others. During his remarks, the NATO chief also noted that European allies have begun discussing real security guarantees for Ukraine, while also slamming Russia over its objection to Western military presence on Ukrainian territory.
I'm surprised to hear me say that we need more than we currently have. A lot more, I can tell you, because we face serious and lasting threats. Russia and China are investing heavily to build up and modernize their militaries. And this is not just to show off at major military parades in Moscow or like yesterday in Beijing, but to aggressively exert influence, attempt to reshape the global order and undermine our freedom and security. We should not be naive. This trend is not going to shift or reverse anytime soon. Russia is, and for the foreseeable future will remain, a destabilizing and confrontational force in Europe and the world. And that's why when NATO leaders met in The Hague in June, our priorities were crystal clear. Invest a lot more in defense and speed up our defense production. And that's exactly what we are doing. Europe and North America together in NATO, and we are, I can tell you, already making progress. We need to increase the number of air and missile defense systems fivefold. We need thousands more armored vehicles and tanks. We need millions more artillery shells. We need more drones and cyber and space capabilities. So we have the shopping list. But to buy, we need the cash. But of course, cash alone can't provide security. We need the capabilities, real firepower, heavy metal, as well as new tech. And that's what our defence industry across the alliance needs to deliver, faster than ever, in Europe and also in the United States. Until recently, Russia was producing more ammunition than all NATO allies, including the US, including Turkey, the whole of NATO together. Much faster than we possibly could. Crucially, Ukraine is now also one of the world's largest producers of autonomous systems, able to produce more than 4.5 million drones per year. And that's truly stunning. The demand for capabilities is real and urgent. It is on the rise and it will continue. We need all your help to further increase production lines. Only look at the pictures from Beijing the last couple of days and the hand-holding. They are increasing their defence industrial collaboration to unprecedented levels. They are preparing for long-term confrontation. And as I said earlier, the challenges we face are lasting.
UN High Representative for Disarmament Affairs, Izumi Nekamitsu, says the choice is ours and it must be to end nuclear testing forever. She made the comments while addressing a high-level plenary meeting of the United Nations General Assembly on behalf of the Secretary General of the United Nations to commemorate the International Day Against Nuclear Tests. According to her, today's commemoration takes place in a world overshadowed by conflict, mistrust, and the looming shadow of nuclear weapons. Trust between states continues to erode, while investments in nuclear weapons and their delivery systems increase. Against this backdrop, the prohibition of all nuclear explosive testing is not merely a technical or procedural matter, it's a moral and strategic necessity. The resolution calls for increasing awareness and education about the effects of nuclear weapon test explosions or any other nuclear explosions and the need for their cessation as one of the means of achieving the goal of a nuclear weapon-free world.
Today's commemoration takes place in a world overshadowed by conflict, mistrust, and the looming shadow of nuclear weapons. Trust between states continues to erode, while investments in nuclear weapons and their delivery systems increase. Against this backdrop, the prohibition of all nuclear explosive testing is not merely a technical or procedural matter. It is a moral and strategic necessity. Nearly 3 decades after its adoption, the CTBT has not yet entered into force, and the totality of its promise remains unrealized. This relay cannot continue. Let me be clear, the only path to abolishing nuclear tests is through a legally binding prohibition, respected, implemented, and above all, enforced. That is the promise of the CTBT. It is incumbent upon every state to bring that promise to life, but in particular those states whose ratification is still required for the treaty's entry into force. Their leadership will decide whether this treaty finally closes the door on the era of nuclear testing. The measure of our commitment will not be found in the words we speak today. It will be found in the choices we make tomorrow. That choice is ours, and it must be to end nuclear testing forever.
Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has confirmed that the foreign ministers of Iran, Russia and China signed a joint letter denouncing Britain, France and Germany for attempting to reinstate sanctions on Tehran. He made these remarks after he returned from China, where he attended the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. China and Russia, along with Britain, France and Germany, were parties to the 2015 nuclear agreement with Iran, which provided sanctions relief in exchange for restrictions on Tehran's nuclear program. The UK and its allies say they stand ready to support Ukraine before negotiations to end the war, as well as to secure an eventual peace deal. That's according to the UK's Defence Secretary ahead of a top-level meeting in Paris today Mr. John Healy told the BBC in Kyiv that Ukraine's allies would help make the skies safe, to make the seas safe, and to secure the land once a peace deal has been struck. About 30 leaders will take part in the Paris summit in person or online, and French diplomats say technical work on providing security guarantees is now complete in the event of a ceasefire. France's President Emmanuel Macron said the question now was the sincerity of Russia. President Vladimir Putin conveyed a defiant message from China on the eve of the meeting, vowing his full-scale invasion could continue. The UK Defence Secretary suggested there was bluster in Mr. Putin's words, insisting that Russia was under pressure. One of the key requirements envisaged by diplomats is an American safety net, and NATO chief Mark Rutte said the aim was to have a clarity on what the coalition could deliver so they could discuss what the Americans could provide. And clashes erupted in Jerusalem as thousands of anti-government protesters blocked roads, marched with placards, and confronted police, demanding Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu secure a deal for hostages held in Gaza. The Hamas-Israel war began on October 7, 2023, when the Palestinian militant group launched an attack on southern Israel that killed over 1,000 people, mostly civilians, and saw more than 200 people taken hostage. In response, Israel launched a wide-ranging military offensive across Gaza, which killed 63,557 Palestinians and injured over 160,000. And that's according to figures from the Gaza-run Health Ministry at the time of publication. Staying with the Israel-Hamas war, the United Arab Emirates has warned Israel that annexing the occupied West Bank will cross a red line and undermine the spirit of the Abraham Accords that normalize relations between the two countries. A senior Emirati official, Lana Nusseibeh, described such a move would be the death knell of the two-state solution to the Israel-Palestinian conflict. Meanwhile, the Palestinian Authority's Foreign Ministry has welcomed the UAE's position. Mr. Nusseibeh's remarks came after a far-right finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, unveiled a proposal for the annexation of approximately 4/5 of the West Bank. The Israeli government is yet to make any comment on this latest development. Meanwhile, the UAE has provided a new batch of humanitarian aid to flood victims in Wadi Nakhla and Hadid on Yemen's west coast. The Emirates Red Crescent has played a key role in organizing logistics and distributing the aid in cooperation with the UAE. The UAE had previously provided urgent humanitarian aid to 960 families, including tents, food and basic supplies. Through initiatives like these, the UAE aims to enhance the living conditions of displaced people and those in need in Yemen, given the ongoing necessity for support and assistance due to the humanitarian situation in the country. A UN report revealed that the heavy rains that hit Yemen last August caused widespread destruction, directly affecting more than 322,000 people and their host communities in various governorates. The floods also swept through more than 190 sites, sheltering internally displaced people, affecting over 46,000 families. And finally, on the program, thousands of natural redheads from around the world gathered in the Dutch city of Tilburg for the 20th annual Redhead Days festival. The three-day event featured dance, photo shoots, hairdressing and makeup workshops, as well as educational sessions on skin cancer prevention. Many attendees said the festival helped them embrace their identity. One participant from Turkey said she used to feel different, but now celebrates being unique. Others spoke of feeling like outsiders in their home countries, but finding community at the festival, describing redheads as unicorns. The event began in 2005 when Dutch artist Bart Ruwenhurst sought red-haired models for a painting. Since then, it has become the world's largest celebration for natural redheads. attracting visitors from more than 80 countries.
When I was a kid, actually, I didn't want to be different than others because like redhead people is really a real kind of people. So I didn't want to be different than others. But since after grow up, I actually became more grateful that I have ginger hair and I am really happy with my hair and I feel special, different than others. And it's, I think, really great thing to have and I am happy with my hair.
I think actually we connect differently if we see another redhead, especially if you're from a country where there are not a lot of redheads in general. And I think that we can connect through this trait of ours.
Really nice to be the majority instead of the minority this time. This weekend has been really about everyone fitting in and getting along.
We normally tend to stand out in a crowd. Our hair is such a different color. I know me and the others in my family, we tend to not get cold and are almost always hot.
As like most of the people like ginger hair, like I was like even the only child in my town with the ginger hair, and I born like in a very little city in Sicily, on the middle of nowhere. So for the people I was like a stranger or an alien. But after that they come here in the festival, I understand that we are like a unicorn. We are unique, and as you know, if you don't know, like ginger hair with the blue eyes, we are only 1% in the population, so we are kind of like a unicorn, and we are unique.
Unique indeed. Well, that's our program today. Thank you for watching. I'm Joker Rogers.